Good evening. If last week's official crime statistics are to be believed, all of us are going to have to do more to prevent and tackle crime if the trends are to be halted and reversed. Well, last month, at least 1,000 viewers did just that. They rang to help, and if you see something tonight that you recognise, the detectives and BBC researchers here are waiting for your call. And here's the number, 01811 8055.
Now, you might have heard that a viewer called in after last month's programme. In fact, he actually came here to Television Centre to help police identify some clothing connected with one of two murders. We'd reconstructed the last hours of two London prostitutes, Marina Monti and Rachel Applewhite. We showed a Crimewatch video fit of a man Rachel had been seen with. According to police, the man who presented himself was a very good likeness of the video fit. He was cautioned, but it emerged that he worked for the Mexican government and had Grade 1 diplomatic status. That gave him complete immunity. But the Mexican authorities have since waived that immunity for questioning, and the man's been back to Kensington Police Station this week.
We'll keep you informed. There was a strong response to the arson attack which destroyed 9 aircraft in a hangar in Wiltshire. Someone with some knowledge of aircraft had drained fuel onto the ground. It wrecked almost all production models of a revolutionary new plane called the Optica. Following our reconstruction, the police have now traced the white car spotted at the scene and a couple who warned of the risk of an explosion. But they still haven't heard from the man on the bike or the two men we showed seen getting into a car. No arrests are pending. Police have asked us to appeal in particular to a woman who rang in tears. Please, would you call again? You could speak in complete confidence to a police officer, if you prefer, to a BBC researcher. Here's the number, 01811 8055.
Also last month, police wanted to trace some youngsters at Martin Kane's party at Exning Road in Canning Town, East London. On the night of Saturday, the 3rd of January, in an apparently racist attack, a young black man who lived nearby was stabbed in the face, blinding him in one eye. Despite the seriousness of that crime, we've only had 3 calls. That's the lowest response in Crimewatch's history. Police are still very anxious for your help, so if you can help, please do. Here's the number, 01811 8055.
You may remember back in February of last year, we asked viewers to help find this man. Desmond Quigley was wanted in connection with the murder of a 70-year-old Lancashire antiques dealer, John Ward.
As a result of 2 calls from Crimewatch viewers, police arrested Desmond Quigley in Warwickshire 6 days after the programme. He was charged with murder, and after trial last week at Preston Crown Court, he was sentenced to life imprisonment.
Finally, remember that burglary we featured last month at Leigh-on-Sea in Essex, in which a man lost a lifetime's collection of antiques? Well, we've just heard tonight that as a direct result of a viewer's response to our reconstruction, 2 men have been arrested today, and a substantial amount of the stolen goods have been recovered.
Well, now the first of tonight's cases. It's a callous and apparently motiveless murder. Eddie Owusu was an attendant at one of the national car parks in London. On a Saturday night 9 weeks ago, he was shot while he was working. People from all over the country were using the car park that night. It serves a nearby theatre where Alice in Wonderland was playing. So if you were in that audience that Saturday, or if you were nearby, you might remember something which could just be the piece of information police need to find his killers. Our reconstruction starts on the morning of Saturday the 17th of January in Hammersmith, West London.
Hammersmith Broadway. Underneath the flyover is the Sussex Place NCP car park where Eddie Owusu worked. That Saturday morning, Eddie arrived just before 10 o'clock to open up the kiosk for the day. It was bitterly cold that January weekend, and there'd been snow and ice on the ground. Eddie, who was 46, had been the car park attendant here for 5 years. He came to Britain from Ghana in 1967, and his wife and 3 children followed later. He was a popular man and highly thought of by his employers at national car parks.
We found him to be an excellent employee, someone who worked very, very hard at his job, a person that I've always valued his work, his loyalty, his ability to do the job. One of these people that you don't find everywhere, an employee who I suppose you wish for.
About 100 yards away from the Sussex Place NCP is the Hammersmith Odeon, a popular music venue and theatre. The Odeon was preparing for a musical production by a Buddhist group, NSUK, that evening, Alice in Wonderland. Eddie usually took a break around lunchtime and often used to do the family shopping. This is probably what he did that Saturday. The Owusu family lived in Plaistow. Eddie and his wife Comfort were a devoted couple. They were well known and widely respected in the Ghanaian community. 10 to 6 that evening, a Ghanaian friend stopped by the kiosk.
Hey,
They spoke in a mixture of their native Asante and English.
long time no see. How is the heart?
Not very good. It's cold, so I keep indoors most of the time. I'm
Yeah?
on my way to see a friend, yeah.
Why don't you come in for coffee?
No, thank you. I'm on my way to Richmond. I'm in a hurry. It's
Okay.
getting a bit late, so I'll see you later.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
7 p.m. At home in Dacre Road, Comfort Owusu telephoned her husband at the kiosk.
Hi, darling.
Oh, hi.
Is everything okay?
Okay. Look, we are very busy at the moment. The car's beginning to come in. I'll call you back. Yes, I promise. I will.
All right, don't work too hard now.
Okay. I'll call you back. Bye.
Speak to you later. Bye.
At the car park, people were arriving for the evening's performance of Alice. Followers of NSUK had come from all over the country. The show was due to start at 8 p.m, but it wasn't until 8:20 that it actually got going. And outside, a few cars were still arriving at the Sussex Place car park, as late as 9:15. Hammersmith Bridge Road, the bus stop for the 9, 33 and 72 buses. Waiting there were Ian Mole and 3 friends. Walking towards the bus stop was this man, Neil Blackgrove. He thought the noise was a car backfiring in the car park. Ian thought it was a shotgun.
Go and get the police!
He ran towards the car park kiosk. Eddie Owusu was lying on the ground, bleeding heavily. From the road, Neil saw 2 figures weaving between the parked cars. The one wearing a duffel coat seemed to be tucking something into the front of it. He watched as they ran from the car park across Hammersmith Bridge Road. A car heading towards Hammersmith Roundabout hooted at them as they dashed in front of it. They ran towards Angel Walk and disappeared. The door of Eddie's kiosk had been stove in, but there was still money lying on the counter. At home, Comfort was never to get that call from Eddie. Eddie Owusu died from gunshot wounds in the thigh at 2:27 the following morning.
Well, Malcolm, you're looking for 2 killers with no apparent motive. Eddie was a very popular man, wasn't he?
Very popular man. We think that this was a robbery which for some reason went wrong.
Even though money was left behind.
We think that they discovered on entering the hut that the money was in fact kept in a safe in the floor of the hut, and that Eddie did not have the key for the safe.
And there were 2 shots. Do you think they intended to kill him?
The very fact that there were 2 shots makes this a very brutal killing. That second shot was totally unnecessary. The first shot would have severely injured Eddie, and he would have been beyond offering any resistance at all.
So your appeal then is for anybody who might be able to offer any information about those 2 men, assuming they were men?
Yes, any close friend of theirs, associate, or particularly the partner in crime, who may wish to tell us who the gunman is. The gunman is a very dangerous man.
Well, to jog people's memory, let's have a reminder of the geography of the area, looking at our micromap. Under the Hammersmith flyover there is the car park, and there's the kiosk where Eddie was shot. The Odeon is about 100 yards away, and the bus stop where Ian and his friends were is in Hammersmith Bridge Road there. And there's where Neil heard the gunshots, and that's the route where the 2 killers ran after the shooting. They ran through the car park and then out and across the road. There's where they dashed in front of the car, and there's Angel Walk leading into King Street, which is the main shopping centre. And it's very busy round there, isn't it? Somebody surely must have seen them that night.
In King Street, it was very busy. It's possible someone may have seen two men emerge, or two figures emerge from Angel Walk. The car park itself wasn't busy with people, but we would ask anyone in the vicinity of a car park or in the car park who saw anyone hanging round before the shooting, possibly from 8 p.m. until 8:45, please to contact us, because these men may have been reconnoitring the scene or just waiting round for a quiet moment before they attacked the hut.
And indeed, the car driver who hooted up, and perhaps he'll come forward too.
We would hope that he would come forward.
There is a reward, I gather.
There is a reward offered by National Car Parks, and it is a substantial reward.
Right, well, if there's anything you know that could help to find Eddie's killer or killers, please ring us in the studio now in absolute confidence. The number is 01 811 8055, or you can ring Hammersmith Police direct on 01 748 4184. That's 01 748 4184.
Now, Incident Desk, where we invite the police to appeal to you directly. Incidentally, a lot of viewers have asked, who chooses the cases, the police or Crimewatch? The answer is the police usually offer the stories, but Crimewatch makes the choice. Among our items tonight, the shameful case of a con man who's working all over the country, two men who've held up building societies in London, a Surrey man who's disappeared from his home, and the bird that's flown from Durham. Here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, we'd like you to look at this face. The man has a scar above his right eye and heavily tattooed arms. He may have information that could help solve a number of cases of theft and deception in places as far apart as Leeds and Bournemouth. They're mostly against old and defenceless people. In Epsom, Surrey, money was taken from an 81-year-old lady as payment for repairs to her electric wheelchair, which were never done. In Huddersfield, £220 was taken as payment for a cooker, which never arrived. In London, an 88-year-old lady lost 2,000 Deutschmarks saved for a special eye operation in Germany. Even one of us was fooled. A foreign police officer was offered accommodation in London while he was visiting his sick wife in Bart's Hospital. A £150 rent was paid, but no accommodation was forthcoming. If you've seen this man who may have some information which could help us, ring us now.
Next, a couple of building society hold-ups, both of them in London's Baker Street. This picture was taken last October at the Newcastle Building Society. The man is walking out with £2,000 after threatening the cashier. Take a closer look at him. We also know he's got a scar running down his left cheek to his mouth. Another Baker Street Building Society was held up on Tuesday last week. Notice the man is older than the average armed robber. He may even have left his false teeth at home. He passed over this note to the cashier, which had newspaper cuttings on it about 2 armed robberies. In fact, the robber was forced to leave empty-handed, but 3 days later he phoned the building society and threatened the staff. We think he was also involved in an armed robbery at Ciro Pearls, the jewellers in Old Bond Street, London, in January. This time he got away with £4,000 worth of gold jewellery. Staff from both the building society and the shop say he had a slight Scottish accent. Look at him again, and if you recognise him, please give us a call.
Next, we'd like your help to find Stuart Curnow, who's probably alive but might prefer us to think he's dead. Last December, Mr. Curnow's wife Winnie was found dead at their home in Streatham, South London. Forensic tests failed to find what caused Mrs. Curnow's death. But when officers called at their home, they found a suicide note, not from Mrs. Curnow, but from Mr. Curnow. We've since discovered that he spent the next 4 days at hotels in London and Bournemouth. On the 4th day after his wife's death, Mr. Curnow sent his Bournemouth hotel bill and his passport to a police station, together with a second suicide note. This time, he planned to drown himself at sea. Frogmen were called in to search Poole Harbour, but Stuart Curnow's body was never found. Since then, we've discovered that Mr. Curnow, an outwardly respectable businessman, was leading a double life. He owed debts amounting to over £20,000, ran 2 sex contact magazines, financed a massage parlour and sublet rooms to prostitutes. He's also suspected of fraud offences. He may well still be driving his own car. It's a gold Ford Granada Ghia Saloon, registration number A893SYX. If you've seen this car or Mr. Curnow, please ring us.
These are the badges for a security guard's uniform. They came into our possession last August, along with some firearms. They may have been used as part of a disguise for a robbery anywhere in the country, but we have no ideas about where they originally came from. If you know where they were made or who sells them, or if you know a security company that uses badges like these, ring us now.
Finally, on Incident Desk, we'd like you to help us find a missing macaw. Alma Burnstone from Durham had taken her car to the garage on Monday the 23rd of February, but returned to find her home burgled. Amongst the missing items was her precious parrot. This is a picture of him on her arm. Jackie is a scarlet macaw, just like this one, and Miss Burnstone is desperate to find him, especially as he's unwell and needs a special diet. Apparently he says several words, including, "Hello there, Jackie's a bad lad, where's Alma?" and "shut up." One word of warning though, he's very aggressive to strangers. Scarlet macaws are very rare, so if you've seen one in the last month and are suspicious of where it came from, please call us.
If you can help on any of those cases, ring us please now. The number here in the studio, 01811 8055, that's 01811 8055.
Well, last week's official crime statistics made depressing reading, all crime up by 7% over the year. But before we complain about how disappointing the figures are, perhaps we ought to ask ourselves how scrupulous we are.
For example, if we see something suspicious, do we report it? And if we're offered what we suspect is stolen property, do we always tell the police? Someone somewhere is being offered stolen cigarettes. Maybe an ordinary smoker, maybe a retailer, maybe a wholesaler. If it happens to you, will you please call us, because you could help solve a disturbing series of crimes in London. Next door to this pub in Packington Street, Islington, is a tobacco wholesaler. Monday the 2nd of February. At 10:15 a.m, a driver from a haulage company has just delivered 10 boxes of cigarettes. As he climbed into the cab, he was attacked from behind. He never saw his assailants. A coat was thrown over his head, and the terrified driver was pushed to the floor. The truck was driven away, the load and the security keys were taken, and the driver was left locked up in the back. Now, cigarettes are worth a lot of money. Listed a lot here, there are about 100,000 cigarettes here. They'd be worth around £8,000 if sold in a shop. Now, of course, they'll be worth a good deal less to thieves. Even so, haulage companies that deliver cigarettes take considerable precautions. For example, their lorries are fitted with radios and with very sophisticated alarm systems. So the attack in Islington almost certainly involved detailed knowledge. Now, when another similar attack happened 10 days later, and then another, and then another, police came to believe they could be looking for a single organised gang. York Way, near King's Cross, on Thursday the 12th of February. It's just after 7:10 in the morning.
Hey, you! Now lean over and open that other door.
A key like this to immobilise the alarm had been stolen in the previous raid.
Turn right.
A few hundred yards away, the driver was forced to stop. A third villain, possibly armed, bundled him into the back of a dark, transit-type van.
Don't do anything silly and you'll be all right. Make yourself comfortable in that corner.
You won't need that, so I won't give you no trouble.
The driver's ordeal lasted nearly 3 hours. He had no idea what had happened to his lorry. The van must have headed east. At any rate, at about 10 that morning, it stopped here, near the A2 in Kent, and the driver was set free. Back in London, the truck was dumped in Cannon Street Road. It may have been there for some time, but one witness thoughtfully left her time of sighting. It was 12:36. 2 weeks later, Thursday at 9:30 a.m, at Green Lanes in Palmer's Green. A truck had just delivered here. It had a two-man crew.
I just closed my door. Suddenly then my door reopened. A guy came up to me, grabbed me by the scruff of the neck. He says, "Move over." He had what looked like he had a gun. I weren't sure. He then grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, threw me onto the floor, and put his feet on top of me. 'Cause I was face down, so I couldn't move. My door was flung open. I was pushed across the seats. The coat was laid across me. The bloke had his arm over me. And as we moved off, I was upset. I said, I'm going to lose my job for this. He said, oh, I said, don't worry about it. It happens all the time down here. He says, there's a lot more companies done. He says, there's a lot more going to be done as well.
Indeed there were. 5 days later, Tuesday the 3rd of March at 10 to 8 in the morning. This is the junction of Essex Road and the new North Road in Islington. The driver needed to unload where the blue car had just parked.
Move it up a bit.
If you don't mind, just a little.
You reckon? Cause...
Get up, get in the car. Go, go!
Laburnum Street in Hackney is 5 minutes away. This disused warehouse backs onto the canal. The villains had somehow triggered the truck's alarm on the way, but no one took any notice nor called the police. As the driver was dragged out, he noticed one villain's neat white trainers and a white Luton-type van.
Don't you look at my face. Keep your head down. And stop messing us about. I just can't stop it. Get him in, get him in.
Eventually, the alarm stopped by itself.
And keep down!
Oi! Going for another van. Stay there and keep your head down, you're being watched. Stay there.
Anyone there?
Where the bloody hell do you think you're going? Get it back in that car, you bastard! Get in there!
Oi,
Get it! Stay there!
When they came back, they had another van. It must have been parked nearby because they'd been gone only a few minutes.
Now, put the keys in the seat. Stay there for half an hour. See you again.
This time they really had gone. Sergeant Davidson, what sort of people were they? Who are you looking for?
The people we're looking for are not amateurs. In fact, they mean what they've said. What they've said has left the drivers in no doubt as to what they mean to do. They're all white, aged 35 to 45, and at least on 2 occasions, one of them has purported to be an Irishman, if not an Irishman.
Now, they've purported to have guns, but no one's really quite sure, are they?
That's right, and in fact, they've only shown them briefly, just for a few seconds, and never needed to use them again.
So maybe they shouldn't have taken them out in the first place. They could have saved themselves long prison sentences.
Yeah.
Sergeant Powell, are these all definitely linked?
Yes, they are. I think from where they happened and the area in which they happened and the methods that they used, all of them in North London initially.
You see how closely grouped they are there?
Yes, indeed. But coincidentally, although we had a driver dumped in South London, we had, on the day we were filming, another hijack which took place in Greenwich.
South of the river, then?
South of the river, and the driver was taken and dumped back in North London, very near to where the second incident took place.
Now, because so many cigarettes have been stolen over those 5 raids, there's a huge reward accumulated.
Yes, indeed. The tobacco companies want to put forward £50,000 seeking information as to the perpetrators and, of course, hopefully to recover the load.
Now, Sergeant Davison, what sort of people? I might say the reason there are 2 of you here because, of course, 2 CIDs are involved. There have been so many crimes. What sort of people might reward? Who are you looking for?
Well, as you've seen by the reconstructions, all these robberies have happened busy times of the day, busy parts of London. So therefore there would have been people about, going to school, going to work, stuck in traffic, idly looking through windows, things which may have seemed to be horseplay, for example, the drivers being bundled into the car. They might have just not taken out of their mind for the time being. But hopefully these reconstructions will have jogged their memories, and therefore we are saying to them, you may well hold a vital clue which could give us the information we need to build up a better picture and trace these people. And indeed, they may well be entitled to this reward.
I was going to say, even a tiny piece of information from them, if it helps to catch somebody, recover some goods, they could get a substantial share of reward.
Absolutely.
Where are all these cigarettes now? There's an awful lot of them. Should we be looking at individual smokers? Should they be looking at their own cigarette packets, corner shops, wholesalers? Where?
No, I don't think we're looking for the individual smoker. I think we're looking for a large outlet, somebody capable of handling a lot of cigarettes.
So if somebody who's working in a pub, or for a wholesaler for that matter, thinks that his or her boss maybe has got some cigarettes on the cheap, they too could claim a very, very big reward.
Yeah, and somebody like that would be very interesting to talk to. They may well have seen something coming into their particular place of employment, which is, yes, very...
OK, there's £50,000 at stake as a reward there. If you can help find the robbers or the cigarettes, please do call the detectives here in the studio on 01 811 8055. If you prefer, you can call Albany Street Police Station direct, that's London, 725 4551, and you can see the alternative numbers there. That's 01 455 1 2 3 4 or 5.
Well, we have an Aladdin's Cave in the studio again this month. Stolen treasures from all over the country which have been sitting around in police stations waiting to be reunited with their owners. Perhaps something's yours. Here with everything from figurines to fireplaces is John Bly.
I don't think we've ever had any fireplaces before, but it's certainly something you'd miss. Have a look and see if you recognise any of these, especially this one, the French style, which is a marvellous example. And befitting any fine mantelpiece, of course, is a good pair of candlesticks, and you won't find better than these. They're cast silver, made in the 1760s by one of our leading makers of the time, Ebenezer Coker. I suppose they're worth about £2,500 today, and the hallmarks inside bear witness to their authenticity. But, oh, they're so beautiful, they really are. Anyway, as usual, we've got a collection of oriental pieces, some superb, like this chap here, little Japanese man with a bonnet tied under his chin with a little Sloane Ranger knot. I think somebody might recognise that. And we've got a couple of Netski here. There's a good chubby one, a nice little working model, rounded edges, nice soft feel to him. And this one looks very grand, but I'm afraid he's a fake. You see nasty rough edges and saw marks where it's been cut off. Over on the front, we've got the most wonderful example of Sèvres porcelain, that vase, a massive example on its original ormolu base. Now, that might have been a disappointment for someone at some time. It has a date of 1643 on the front, but that alludes to the panel, not to the date of the vase, which is some 200 years later, made about 1850, but worth still best part of £3,000. Now, we've got 2 lovely ladies from the Art Nouveau period, but sad as I am to go past them quickly, I'm going on to look at this marvellous desk. This, I suppose, is one of the best pieces of furniture we've had. It's Dutch. It's a cylinder fall desk, 19th century. The front of the cylinder is covered with marquetry and this extraordinary panel of branding, which again, I suppose, another £3,000 piece. But we're going to finish on some silver. Now, here's a marvellous service. It comes from the revival period of the 1830s, the Rococo revival, still the age of elegant living, when instead of dashing out to the kitchen to fill the pot, you could actually do it from the table. And you pulled the pin out of the kettle and filled it up like so. Very smart. But we have to end on a sad note, I'm afraid, because that lot is worth £5,000, but it's much more hurtful to see things which are of no real commercial value, but sentimentally irreplaceable. A presentation bowl here inscribed Fastnet Race 1937, 3rd prize, and a cigarette box with 4 sets of initials and 4 different dates. The last one, CST 1962. You know, it really would be nice if we could trace the owner of those.
And if there's anything there that you recognise, here's the number to the studio, 01 811 8055. That's 01 811 8055.
Our last case tonight is unusual in that the police know almost everything there is to know about the crime, except the names of the gang who committed it. It's a particularly vicious armed robbery on a security van on Merseyside. 3 crucial events led up to the attack: the theft of a set of car number plates and then the theft of 2 vehicles. The robbery itself took place on Thursday the 19th of February, but our reconstruction begins exactly a month earlier, on Thursday the 22nd of January, in the Speke area of Merseyside. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in Tarbock Road in Speke. 2 policemen patrolling the area noticed a red Ford Sierra with missing number plates. The car's registration number was on the tax disc, B752MHF.
With reference to your red Sierra Bravo 752 Mike Hotel Foxtrot, the owner is a Mr. John Collins.
The owner confirmed that the plates had been stolen. 12 miles away in Warrington on February the 2nd, 11 days later. At about 5:30, 2 youths were seen stealing a 4x4 Sierra off Friars Gate. The witness remembers them having a lot of trouble getting away. Police made up this identikit picture of one of them. 2 weeks after that, another theft. Residents of Oakvale council flats in the centre of Liverpool saw a post van drive into their car park. It had been stolen from the Wellington Road post office depot only minutes before. Closely following the van, witnesses reported seeing a large white car. After a short conversation, both the van and the car drove off, turning into Broad Green Road. About 2 hours later, the van was back. It stayed there for the rest of the night. Next morning, Thursday the 19th of February, a month after the theft of the number plates. Just before 8 o'clock, the post van drove out of Oakvale. At about the same time, a security express van had begun its regular wages round. The guards were due to deliver £17,000 to the Prince's Butoni factory in Wilson Road in Huyton.
Good morning, Princess Butoni. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm afraid he's not arrived in the office yet.
At 9:20, the morning mail was being sorted. By now, the security express van was just a quarter of a mile away. The clerk thought the post van must be bringing a special delivery. The driver seemed agitated. She could see him quite clearly and gave police a detailed description. It took 2 or 3 minutes for the guards to get the wages from the back of the van. 100 yards away was the stolen Sierra.
Let go of the money, you bastard! Come on, go! Go!
The getaway route was 7 miles long and chosen to avoid the busy roads.
Within 10 minutes of the attack, the gang had reached the junction of Eastern Avenue and Alderfield Drive in Speke. As the driver stayed with the Sierra, the other three hailed a taxicab. Police believe the driver may then have panicked and decided to abandon the Sierra. The taxi drove off in the direction of Tarbuck Road, not far from where the Red Sierra's number plates had been stolen.
Well, Tony, those security guards were very badly injured, weren't they? How are they now?
Yes, one of them's still off sick, actually. As you've seen from the reconstruction, it's a particularly violent attack on these men, and I'm appealing to anybody out there who knows anything about it. And there's no doubt by now, certainly in the Speke area, there will be people who are well aware of the identity of these men, and we're asking them in confidence, obviously, to give us a ring up. And I would add that there is a reward being posted now.
Right. Well, to recap, let's quickly look again at our micro map here. There's Tarbuck Road up there, where the Red Sierra's number plates were stolen in the first place. Then there's Oakvale Council Flats, where the post office van was left overnight. There's where the Princess Brutoni factory is in Highton, that's 7 miles away. And the White Sierra was parked just a short distance away waiting. And then the getaway route took the back roads towards Speke, where they abandoned the White Sierra and hailed a taxicab. There's the taxicab. Black cabs are actually rather unusual around that area, aren't they? So perhaps we might find the taxi driver.
We're hoping to. We do have a description of the taxi driver. Roughly he's about 50 years of age, believed to be quite tall from the way he was sat in the van, possibly wearing glasses. So we are appealing to that particular taxi driver to come forward, yes.
With their baseball bats, they weren't exactly inconspicuous, were they?
No, they weren't, and he would be well aware of it.
As I said, we've you know almost everything there is to know about the crime, except who did it. But you have two very good descriptions, don't you, for the man first of all, one of the men who stole who drove the post office van. I mean, first.
Yes, we do. And from the witnesses that gave us the description, they do say that both the photo fit and the video fit that we've done, and the actor himself who played the part was very, very similar. And the same goes for the coloured youth that was involved in the theft of the vehicle in Warrington.
Right, our video fit has made that quite a good likeness, hasn't it?
It is very good likeness, yes.
Now, you don't think that he is necessarily one of the men who was involved in the actual raid?
No, we don't believe that particularly is, but there is every chance that the second youth, the white youth that was with him, was involved in the raid itself, yes.
Right. Now, there were 17 days between the stealing of the white Ford Sierra and the actual raid. What do you think happened to that white car in between?
Oh, it was obviously in a garage somewhere, and that's obviously a point that we're now making, that we would like to trace this garage. We do know that the car has been out on a number of occasions. It was used in Mobley in Cheshire on the 8th of February, roughly about 5 o'clock in the morning, when there was a smash and grab. There were 5 men aboard it at that time, and it was chased by the police, but lost in the Manchester area. We do believe that that was the white car that made the rendezvous in Oakvale Flats the night prior to the offence. And we also believe that at 4:30 on the morning of the offence, the white car was used in a dummy run because it was seen going along Hale Road and then turning into Alderfield Drive.
Well, let's hope somebody can supply us with some names. If you can help, please ring us now here in the studio on 01811 8055 or call Merseyside Police Direct on 051 777 4977. That's 051, the code for Liverpool, 777 4977.
We're having a lot of good information on those cigarette hijacks. In particular, I've been asked to appeal to the person from Kentish Town in North London who's called already. Will you please call back? If you haven't been able to get through on the phone, you can contact your local police, or you can write to us at Crimewatch UK, BBC Television, London W12 8QT. And on CFAX, page 186, you'll find the numbers to ring direct to police stations investigating tonight's cases.
Meanwhile, remember that the crimes we show you here on Crime Watch are the exception to the rule, the serious ones which police are most anxious to solve. By far, the main bulk of police work is taken up with the everyday petty thefts and burglaries which mostly account for the rise in the crime figures announced last week. And it's those very crimes and steps you can take to prevent them that BBC Radio 2's Crime Check Week will be concentrating on starting next Monday. They're going to have features and interviews throughout the week on home security, car thefts, insurance claims, victim support schemes and so on. And there's a comprehensive free Crime Check pamphlet if you send a stamped self-addressed envelope to Crime Check, BBC 2, Radio 2, London W1A 4WW. Or you can pick one up at any main post office from next Monday.
Our phone lines here to the studio will be open till midnight. We'll be back with the Crimewatch update immediately after question time at 20 to 12. If you're not staying up till then, don't have nightmares. Please do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
Welcome back. I just can't get over the response, one detective just told me. After last week's crime statistics, this has restored my faith in British society. Indeed, we have had a lot of calls tonight. At very least, they've been interesting. One detective has just told me, in his case, they're downright exhilarating. Sue?
Well, first of all, the murder of Eddie Owusu while he was working as an attendant at the National Car Park under Hammersmith Flyover in West London. On Saturday, January the 17th, Alice in Wonderland was on at the Hammersmith Odeon Theatre. And in the car park nearby, Eddie Owusu was attacked and shot. A witness saw two figures running away from the scene. Malcolm, what sort of response have you had?
We've had a very interesting response. In particular, I would ask that Michael contacts us. All information that he can give will be treated in the strictest confidence.
Right, he called about a particular conversation and...
He did indeed.
Did he? Now, the other thing is, I gather you've had two separate calls about a white man seen helping Eddie wearing an NCP jacket, a yellow NCP jacket, earlier on.
And in the hut with him. This was about 7:30 p.m. I would ask that this man, if he exists, contacts us as soon as possible. Again, any information he can give will be treated in strictest confidence. It may be that he was doing a part-time job, helping Eddie, or just doing it as a favour. We would still like to hear from him.
And as you say, it will be in absolute confidence.
Indeed.
Is there any other appeal you'd like to make?
No, only if anyone knows the identity of these gunmen, please pick up the telephone and give us a ring now, because they are dangerous.
Malcolm, thank you. And there is a reward, of course.
There is a reward.
I've had a phenomenal response to the series of hijacks in London involving trucks laden with cigarettes. In a series of hold-ups, and despite sophisticated alarm systems on the lorries, a gang has terrorised drivers and escaped with loads worth a total of over £250,000.
Hey, you!
Sergeant Davison, fantastic response, I gather.
Absolutely. We've had over 300 calls on this from people the length and breadth of London and the home counties and other places. We've had 4 or 5 particularly good calls, and because of the fact one or two of them have been particularly good, unfortunately I can't say too much about them at the moment. Things are imminent, and obviously if anything does happen during this update, we'll come back to you with it, but it's been very good.
There are 2 incident rooms active on this because there are so many crimes all bunched together. Any specific sightings, anything that particularly turns you on?
We've had 2 calls in relation to the Blue Avenger car and the incident leading up to the Packington Street hijack. In fact, one of the calls has told us that we got it wrong, the reconstruction is wrong.
Really?
So we need to contact that man again. Still would like more calls in relation to the other hijacks, people seeing those hijacks. They did take those a busy
It was
time.
extraordinary. These things happened in broad daylight. There must be dozens of witnesses to them, even if they weren't clear that there was a crime going on at the
Somebody
time.
must have seen something.
Cheap cigarettes, suspicious cigarettes turning up all over London, I gather.
That's right. It proves a point. In fact, people have taken interest, they're aware of what's going on, they've phoned us up with information. Thank you very much, but don't stop now or tomorrow morning, because these things will be happening over the next couple of weeks. Keep us in touch. We want to hear from you.
If you think you know who the villains are, or you know someone who's got cigarettes under suspicious circumstances and in some bulk, there's a £50,000 reward you could share in.
Well, now to find out what valuables in our Aladdin's cave have been recognised by their rightful owners, here's John Bly.
Well, not surprisingly, we've had a lot of calls on the fireplaces and also quite a few on the ivory figures, particularly even the fake Netsky. But what is always nice is when somebody rings up about something which I haven't actually mentioned, and that has happened with the clock twice. There have been two people called in who wanted a little more information and have another look at this little miniature grandfather clock. But most of all, I'm thrilled to bits to say that after 10 calls, we think we now have the owner of the bowl of the Fastnet Race Prize, and that is Lieutenant Commander John Illingworth from Malhamdale in Yorkshire. And I think that is marvellous. But please, I would like to say once again, we have not yet had a call on the box. So if you could possibly have another look at it, and please do, let's see if we can find the owner for that family treasure.
Now the wages snatch at the Princess Butoni factory at Huyton on Merseyside. Police have been taking some truly vital calls, they think. 2 security guards were surprised by a gang armed with baseball bats. The robbers made their getaway in a stolen 4x4 Sierra, which was abandoned in Speke. Inspector Bennett, how many calls have you had so far?
There's been a large number. As you can see, these are the calls that we've had here in London, and there's at least twice as many in Liverpool. The response of the public has been absolutely magnificent in this. I'm delighted with them, delighted.
Several, I can see from some of the documents in front of you, have been naming people with addresses, and you believe it's quite good information.
We've had a lot of people contacting us with names of suspects for the video fits. And obviously will be checked out. Some of them we think are very, very good, but I would still ask for people to contact us again. The more that come in, the more delighted we are, and the more work that we can do into them.
Now, there was one specific piece of evidence you had. I know officers are checking it right now, but you really think this is a very important clue indeed?
We did get one part of the information, which was absolutely superb. Officers in Liverpool are delighted with it. I wouldn't like to say any more on that at this stage.
You're pretty confident
it looks quite good, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It does.
Disappointment, you were telling me a few minutes ago. The black cab that you were looking for that picked up these guys in Eastern Avenue in Speke. Now, they were pretty distinctive. They had baseball bats with them. What was the date again?
It was the 19th of February. It was a Thursday, and it was roughly, it would be about 9:30. You would expect the cab driver to have remembered these men, and as I say, he was forced to stop to pick a 4th man up. They were carrying the baseball bats at the time, and really I am disappointed that either he hasn't come forward or maybe somebody who knows about the incident has come forward.
OK, maybe he's watching now? Maybe
well, if he is, I would hope that he would ring me in. There is one other thing that I would like to say. We have had a man who's rang our criminal intelligence office in Liverpool on 2 occasions. I would ask that man, would he please contact them again?
OK, thank you very much indeed. Sue.
Well, now to see what calls have been coming in on tonight's incident desk cases. David Hatcher, first of all, somebody has been persuading people all around the country to part with their savings for goods or services which don't materialise. Any news on the person who knows about that?
Yes, we've had some calls. In fact, after seeing this face, 4 more viewers have called in alleging they've been tricked out of money. Those viewers are from Margate, Putney, Herne Hill and Camberwell. The real point is, where is this man now? If you know him, please ring us. We'd like to talk to him.
Yes, he has vital information. What about Stuart Curnow, the man with the double life who disappeared mysteriously after his wife died?
Yes, Mr. Curnow wanted us to believe that he was dead. We now know that at least a month ago he was certainly alive because somebody who knew him a year ago saw him last February. And he's alleged to have committed suicide during December, which we know isn't true. Again, if you know where that man is, please call us. And of course, remember, his car is still outstanding as well. That's a bronze Granada Ghia A893 SYX. If you know where that is, call us.
Finally, the missing rare scarlet macaw stolen from Durham.
Yes, we've had 16 addresses to check on this one. If you think you know where that macaw is, then please give us a call. Remember, the one that's gone missing, called Jackie, was in fact ill at the time she went missing and is on a special diet. What we really want, of course, is the real macaw.
Thank you, David.
Dear, dear. Helen, let's move to London. 2 separate hold-ups we covered in Baker Street, both of them. One a young man, one an older man.
Well, that first picture we showed of the young man, though we see the right side of his face here.
He's the lower one.
That's right. On the left side of his face is a very noticeable scar. We've had a call from a detective inspector from Essex who believes that he's got that man in custody now.
Really?
Save a bit of shoe wear there.
Well, it certainly would if it's the right one. And the guy at the top, the older one?
Yes, the older man. A number of calls, over 20. A few names have been suggested. Some of those have come from police officers in the metropolitan area.
Right, thought that man might look different if he had his teeth in. Quite seriously. 2 security tags were found with some illegal firearms. What response have you had tracing those?
Marvellous response, particularly as we believe they've been worn during armed robberies throughout the country. Over 40 calls have come in, 9 of which are the same manufacturer in East London. So there's a good chance that mystery...
Good. Helen, thank you.
Well, that's it from Crimewatch for this month. The lines here to the studio will be closing now, but all the local numbers will be on your screen in a moment. Or if you'd rather not use the phone, you can write to us. It's Crimewatch UK, BBC TV, London W12 8QT.
Incidentally, don't forget to tune in to BBC Radio 2 for their Crime Check Week, which starts next Monday. We on Crimewatch will be back next month. Meanwhile, as we always say, please don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
Walk up to another crime scene.